All right, Tom, ask away.
Mr. Connor Trail, the senior here at King's, who has gotten himself into a little bit of hot water with the most of the school staff as far as the sort of almost an end to the mask era here on King's. So you started to bring yourself to a bit of like with some of the protests that you've done. So my questioning is, what is the reasoning behind your protesting?
Well, I look back to when I was a freshman and a sophomore, and the first couple of years of normalcy we had on this campus. I definitely felt that there was a lot of room for discussion about many topics. But then when the pandemic came by, and even I had the idea of it's for the common good and stuff like that. But as time has gone on and we've had this chaos with the school's rules, with the up and down staircases, the enter and exit doors, the more I thought about it and the more I even looked into it, and as the science changed, as they say, we've gotten to a point where it doesn't really make much sense for the college to be having masks, especially when you look at things like the last Omicron variant we had. And yeah, it was more transmissible entirely. I had caught it myself back on December. I got it on Christmas. But it is markedly, it is trackably less dangerous than previous variants of the disease. So I just decided, well, if I want the community to change, as I can feel the community wanted to stop wearing masks, I myself had to change, and that's why I stopped wearing it on campus.
Okay, and then as you were sort of getting, I wouldn't say called out per se, but as people were starting to bring up that you weren't wearing masks, you had a sort of peculiar response to this with the milk crates.
Yeah.
What was the idea behind bringing the milk crate to campus?
So, as my interactions with students and staff changed over the first couple weeks of my protest, among students, I felt a sentiment of, just confusion, not interacting with me and understanding why I'm doing it. And then with the staff, a lot of anger and scorn over just the idea of the policy and not necessarily safety. So I came to the conclusion that if I want to understand what the community's doing, and if I want the community to understand what I'm doing, I had to go out and actually talk to people. Pulling out the metaphorical soapbox and speaking to the public, that's an old adage, but I didn't want to go out there and just, profess words and yell or anything like that. I wanted to use the soapbox as a visually interesting way to draw someone in so that I could have a conversation.
Okay. And in your several meetings with the faculty members, for example, well, let's start with the one that I know personally. When we were in our class together, and you sort of began the class by sort of mentioning a meeting that you had with the president of the school. Can you please go into why that was the time to bring that conversation up?
Well, it was around that time that I had discovered I guess the administrative process of punishing me for not following the rules started with having been reported by Dr. Weiland. So I brought that up in class to open the air that, look, this is happening and this is an action that someone in the immediate room that you know and you're familiar with took. Now, he didn't take it against me. Now, with what happened with Father Looney, because I had met him that day, in my discussion with him, I realized that what he's doing and his decision making behind it, he was definitely just hands off. There's a committee involved with it. And it really made me concerned that the president of the school might not be as involved with his own community and how the community feels as he probably should be. So it kind of, one thing led to another, and that's why I said something about it in class in front of everybody.
So you had been getting sort of some complaints, especially during the open forum, that you were starting to make people uncomfortable, especially with you videotaping the open forum. Now,
yeah.
whether or not you should be videotaping journalism, that's what I'm going to say. It's an open forum, open to the public, open to save.
They even had their own camera there recording the forum, and I was there expressly to record the people who were being questioned. And in the video I had posted of the forum, I tried my best to crop out anybody else who was in the room just so we could focus directly on the leadership who were already being recorded with their own device.
That's respectable. Now, as far as the open forum itself, outside of the video side of things, what was sort of the sense you were getting across the whole forum, whether it was from the faculty sort of leading the way or the other people being questioned?
Well, I was there expressly for one purpose, and it was to hear the college's mask policy from the horse's mouth itself, if you want to say it that way, and that was McGonigal, who answered questions about the mask policy. I actually had left the forum early after I had gotten what I wanted to hear. Not the sense, but what the literal words that came out of McGonigal's mouth is that they were trying to balance opinion on campus about the masks, and that it really wasn't a scientific analysis of what would be the safest thing for the community. I don't know if it was originally scientific before the protest I had started and getting people to talk about the masks, but at the time of the open forum, they decided that the correct thing to say was we have to balance people's demand for masks compared to the demand for no masks.
Okay. And to wrap things up, what is your overall message with both what you are trying to do and what you have already done?
The last few weeks of doing this, and this is going to continue for me until the mask mandate is over, is I've had an amazing experience just speaking to people. And you know, when someone stopped to talk to me and I would look them in the eyes, shake their hands, have a conversation, watch their face, I realized that I was having a much more positive benefit in the lives of the people who decided to even conversate with me. Among the conversations I had, the only people who were willing to speak about the problem were people who were already on the opinion that the mask mandate was unnecessary at this point. And I don't think I'll go back out with the box again, because the people I wanted to speak to, which were the people who wanted the mask mandate, wouldn't even acknowledge my existence. So this is definitely a one-sided street on this conversation, at least for people who want masks, and it has always been a two-way street for people who are willing to open their idea to the science to even prove that masks might not be necessary.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Connor. It was a sort of pleasure getting to speak with you. I'm going to send this over to the, I'm going to try to send this over now, over to our news director so that he can start working on the story, because, well, we're going to have a lot of people to talk to now. Originally it was 5, you've opened it up to 7.
Really?
Like, with you bringing up McGonigal and Weiland, we want to give them an opportunity to respond if they so wish to, and now I know those names have been brought up, that response. We're going to try to see if we can get that.
Yeah, I had brought up Weiland in a lot of my conversations with people on campus, because after you guys had left the classroom, I had spoken to him for several minutes about what I've been doing. And one of the things, actually the first thing he said to me on that Wednesday of the rule change was he was afraid to not be wearing a mask when he was supposed to. And I've been running on the platform that the college really shouldn't be instilling fear into its faculty, students, and staff over this whole situation. And I also evolved into, you know, my own conversations with McGonigal and Father Looney. And one of the things I ended up discussing with Father Looney, he said that they were trying to look out for the best interest in the people around them. And I instinctively said to him, you know, everything I do is for other people, which in first hindsight, it was, okay, that's kind of pretentious, that's kind of selfish for me to say. But the more I thought about it, and I really thought about this a lot on Sunday, the Sabbath, I sat home and rested and thought about my own actions recently. And I realized I am doing this for everyone else. I am doing this for the community, and I am doing this for my friends and family. And when Father Looney said to me, you know, there's people in this school and in this country who don't do things for other people, I kind of got concerned for the community. How many people are here for themselves and to tell other people what to do, and not to be here as a community to engage and develop each other in intellectual thought and experience?
Yeah, you were getting also quite a lot of people that were saying they were sort of uncomfortable with the way you were doing that. So what do you think about that? Like, with other people getting uncomfortable, do you have anything to like say to them, so to speak?
They didn't want to talk to me. That's the problem here, is the people who were probably uncomfortable with the way I was going about it never would have thought to themselves to just walk up and talk to me about what I'm doing. And that's exactly why I went out. I wanted to engage with the community. I wanted to even have an opportunity for my own mind to change about what I'm doing. But those people didn't want to speak to me.
That's fair enough. I remember, I might as well give you this, because you've been giving me a lot of your opinion. I might as well share some of mine.
Please do.
when we were when we went to work on the ghost hunting segment with Jake, we were sort of discussing how we very much respect sort of at the very least the message that you're trying to give out. I would say I probably respect a little bit more behind it, but also we were just sort of confused why it had to be in such a public way that we had to find out. Like, we were initially thinking you were sort of trying to shame Dr. Weiland by bringing that up and sort of dragging everyone into that mess.
No, that's certainly the last thing I want to do, because the college is trying to charge me with disorderly conduct and for specifically violating the mask policy, as I was doing deliberately in an act of protest. And I don't think there's any shame in just talking about the processes that led from point A to point B. I remember Tabitha was specifically upset, but she herself was willing to admit that she had mentioned to Dr. Weiland that I wasn't wearing a mask, and inserted herself into the storyline of point A to point B. I don't believe in shaming people, mostly because the only thing that comes about from shame is hatred, and the last thing I want is to breed hatred in anybody.
Yeah, that's fair. And I'm pretty sure, yeah, Dr. Weiland at the very least was able to... Did you get the chance to speak to him, like, privately about this? How long was that conversation?
About a good 5 or 6 minutes, and he certainly had a lot of respect for the way I was going about things, mostly in the idea of peaceful protest. And why wouldn't I do this peacefully, first of all? I'm disrupting the system, but I'm certainly not going to go out and just yell and scorn people for their beliefs. I'm going out there trying to have a conversation with people so that not only could I develop them, but also develop myself.
Now, I know you had a run-in with the police. Like, they were meeting you at O'Connor Park since you were in the middle, and they wanted you on the sidewalk. Was there anything else with the police? Because some people were speculating you might have been getting actually arrested.
What happened, and I will tell you from... I'll just tell you what happened that day. So, I went out at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I stood on the center of the K in the middle of campus. I was out there for 20 minutes, and next thing I know, I would say there had to have been at least 10 security members just circled me from like a good 30 to 50 foot distance. They wouldn't come up and talk to me. And then I see behind me, like on the other side of the street, which would be over there behind the student affairs office where McGonagall works. I just see him standing in the alleyway staring at me from a distance. And I don't know the gentleman's name, but I believe he's considered an investigator in the security department. He comes walking up to me, and he has like, in his eyes, I can tell that there's terror. And I don't know if it was terror of what I was doing or terror of the repercussions of what I was doing. But he says, "I have to ask you to stop. A faculty member complained about you." And I look him in the eyes and I say, "Well, who was it and what did they say?" He's like, "I just have to call the police now." And they call the police on me, and McGonagall starts sneaking up behind me through O'Connor Park and just stands behind me and stares at me. I look at him, he's like, "You're demonstrating without a permit." I didn't really understand that I was demonstrating anything, and I didn't know that I had to have a permit to speak to people on campus. So the story right now is that the college, in my view, the story is that the college called the police on me for engaging in conversation with the community. And no, I wasn't arrested. I posted my entire interaction with police officers on YouTube, which really was like maybe 45 seconds, maybe a minute.
Right, we had seen that video in the station because we were looking into it, since I was in conversation with people in the esports department who had seen what was going on, and well, I had a lot of insight. I'm in the same major as you, and so I brought that up with the radio, and we're like, let's look more into this. Let's see what's going on, and that's why this happened.
Yes. You know, that's really what I was hoping, is that I'd be out there and starting conversation not just between me and whoever approached me, but between whoever approached me or whoever saw me in the larger community. I think that there's been a lot of division between people, not just over generic political lines, but over the fact that, like, think about yourself. How often do you have conversations of philosophical or larger conceptual discussions here on campus?
On campus, that's rare for me, mostly because I don't get the chance to talk to that many people.
Right. And you know, like the old man in me, the boomer in me, would say that, okay, you're on your phones, you're focusing on social media. A lot of people on this campus do definitely focus on things that are happening outside of their community. And I just wanted to bring attention to what's happening here, pull people out of, you know, the social media world, pull people out of the global or national news world, and talk about like what's happening in front of your eyes here. And what's happening in front of our eyes here, as according to McGonigal during the open forum yesterday, is that the school's really just trying to balance opinions and not actual like scientific reasoning behind why they have masks. I have recorded in the open forum him just saying, yeah, there are people who are saying they want masks on campus, and there are people who say they don't want masks on campus, and we're just trying to find a balance of the two. And I was led to believe for the last year and a half that we were doing this because there was scientific reason to defend each other from a virus.
Mm-hmm. I don't think I have any more questions, because my last question would have been like, so we've heard what you want, what do you think, like what would you say the school wants, but you seem to already have sort of explained that the school wants to find a split between people who want to have masks and people who want to be done with it.
Yes.
They're trying to find a split, you think?
Yes, and I heard it from McGonigal's mouth here in the other room during the open forum. I have it recorded on video, and so does the college. They openly admit that they're just trying to balance opinion and not use science and reasoning as to why they're doing what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. So that was a total of 14 minutes of recorded audio just right there.
I was hoping to do at least 10, so I'm glad we got to 14.
We got there, yeah. Well, I think we actually went on for like maybe 15 to 20, but I sort of had like a little split in the middle of that and was like, no, there's still more stuff here. Let's keep going.
Yeah, and I'm open to talk again about all of this because the conversation's not over.
This isn't going to be over until it's lifted.
Mm-hmm. And I was talking to Christian Hernandez earlier, and he said, well, if the college makes the decision to end it, it would be to just end it in perpetuity.
Right.
So the college is really dragging their feet on it.
Okay, so I'm gonna, what I gotta do is send these over to news director, and then we can get started on this. If you hear any more questions from them, like they might just be more interested because of maybe what they heard in a response, because especially with how big this kind of thing is, we want everybody to have a chance to get what their say is. Mm-hmm. So there's 14 minutes on here. I would almost guarantee it's probably going to turn into 30 seconds based on just how much time we have to fit so many people in this story. We only have 5 minutes to work with.
Well, this is something that can go on for weeks at this point. You could have multiple pieces on this. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad to provide you even more if that is required.
Okay. That's perfect. Oh, I should convert these first. I'll do that on my computer. Well,
thank you, Tom.
You're welcome.
And I think I'll be meeting with Scarlett Sprague for the Crown as well.
Ooh, nice. Heard the Crown hadn't been having that many pieces in a while, so.
You're all right, man. I got all this.
Okay.